Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Jody Thomas
Dr. Amanda Inzi.
and we're here for another quick video for you, hoping to help in any way we can get us through these weird times that we're in. So one of the things that we've been talking a lot about lately with people and the questions we've been getting are about this whole kind of reopening process and making decisions for our families. Because in a weird way, going into quarantine, going into shelter in place is easier, or at the very least simpler, because we're told there are specific rules we're supposed to follow, and they might be hard to adjust to, but we can. However, this new phase we find ourselves in as restrictions are loosening means that we have a lot more decisions to make for ourselves and our families and our communities. And one thing that we as humans don't love is uncertainty. Certainly I don't, certainly no other human I know does either. And all of a sudden we're going to find ourselves swimming in a lot of uncertainty. It's just complicated by the fact that there aren't going to be any one good answer to these questions. There are going to be different decisions for different people. And unfortunately, with the limited amount of true information we're able to know about COVID, we don't get long-term data. We don't get exactly what's going to happen to ourselves as individuals or our community, that we're left in that position of critical thinking and evaluating for ourselves. So we just wanted to take some time today about how do we do that? Because it can feel very overwhelming and really anxiety producing. So as three of us have been talking about it, one of the important things that has really come up is the fact that we need to start with a foundation. So all of these higher level decisions, whether or not we go to the grocery store or not, or we go to the restaurants when they open or the gym or whatever those is, we really want to kind of go that down to a foundation. And that foundation is going to start with what we call a needs assessment. And what do we need first for ourselves? What are the needs we have as individuals? What is the need and the value that we have as with our partners? And what do we have those needs or values that we have with our family, our direct family unit? And then we're looking at that as a small community. Maybe we're thinking about that as neighbors and friends and the smaller world we have. And then really our larger community and the world as a whole. Because when we're going to be having to make those larger decisions, being much more secure about where we are at the foundation is going to make that a lot more clear and simple. Now, the thing that's going to be really interesting and hard, honestly, and awkward is the fact that those decisions are going to be different for everyone. So, for instance, Amanda and I have very different situations to deal with. In my case, I happen to be in a high-risk category. So the decisions for safety that I might have to make for myself and my kids based on exposure are going to be different than someone with a perfectly healthy family. And Dr. Amanda can talk to her experience.
Yeah, and in my case and in my family, we were all already exposed and had COVID. And so while we're not 100% exactly what that means yet, because this is still a new virus, our risk is seemingly much lower. And so the decisions that we make as a family and that we make as individuals in our household are based on different things. And the fear around what does this mean for us as individuals is a little bit different. And our focus is more on what about those that are at highest risk around us and our community that surrounds us as well. And so we all have these different decisions that we make based on our values and based on our needs and based on what needs to happen for ourselves, our families, and our communities around us. And then the second challenging part that we've heard a lot of questions around is then how do we communicate that to other people? Because if everybody's doing their own needs and risk assessments based on the information that we have, because let's be honest, the information is not black and white. There are tons of areas of grays. And even when I was sick, I got different pieces of paper from the same doctor that gave me two different pieces of advice on what to do. And so there's lots of room for us to interpret things based on our needs and how we're approaching, which means that there are going to be people that are making different decisions. And so it's really important. One of the biggest things that came up for me when I was working with families this week is how do I communicate the decisions that I need to make to people so that they can understand where we're coming from and why we're having to make the decisions that we're making. And so one of the things that can be really helpful with addressing that and learning how to communicate is practicing. So planning out ahead, hey, this is what we're going to say when people ask us why we're making the decisions that we make, or maybe when we need to talk to a boss about why our schedule needs to look this way right now, so that you know what to say and you're prepared with how you're going to answer. And having those conversations and practicing talking this out can make that process a lot easier when we're confronted in those situations. And then the second situation that goes along with that, which is probably the one that we most likely are going to encounter, is the fact that even if we're not talking about the decisions that we need to make, or we're not having to verbally set boundaries about the decisions that we need to make, our neighbors, our friends, our family members are maybe making different decisions than we've come to. And so the second part of that is the really hard part of that, which is how do we respect other people even if we don't agree with them? Because other people don't have to make the exact same decisions that we're making. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that they still don't have the same values that we have. That doesn't mean that they are going through the same risk assessment. It just means that the needs in their risk assessment are different than the needs in our risk assessment. And so being able to take the perspective of other people too and see where they're coming from can really help decrease that anger or that kind of edgy response that we sometimes get with people when they're making different decisions with us, because we get that edgy response for a really important reason, because we're worried that their decision is going to impact our safety. And so we need to be confident in the decisions that we made going through the process that Jody just talked about, so that we can carry that forward with us in those moments and know, hey, I'm really confident in the decision that I'm making because I know that's what my family needs and what I need as an individual. And then that will allow me to see that you've made your decisions based on what you need and your family needs as individuals, because those things are going to be different. And then the third part of that is we also have to be open to reevaluation. And so having grace and no judgment with ourselves when we need to reevaluate our decisions, and also having that same grace with other people. So sometimes one of the things that I find frustrating is when I'm talking to friends and they're really hard on one stance and they're like, this is the decision that we're going to make right now. And then a couple weeks, and I'm like, I don't think that's a good decision. And then a couple weeks later, they've changed their tune and they changed their decision. And that's okay. It's okay for other people to change our decision. It's also okay for us to change our decision. And I'm going to take that one further and actually say it's necessary.
Yeah.
It's necessary for other people to change their decisions, and it's necessary for us to change our decisions, because as we continue to go through this process together as this global community, we get new information. And with new information comes a new evaluation and new decisions that are made. And so giving ourselves the space to reevaluate and change those decisions as needed while we give other people space. So one of the things that I've also really commonly heard, and I think I've also said, is a lot of people are like, really right now is the safest time for us to see anyone, because we've all just been stay at home for a really long time. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, right now, this probably is a really safe time where we know who are some people that are maybe higher risk and who aren't for being infected. And so your decision today might be different than your decision 2 weeks from now, when people are kind of moving around some more, and that's okay.
Yeah. And that really, I think, speaks to, and Amanda, you can tell me, like, that need to go back to that core, right? What do I need? What do my partner need? What's my kids' needs? And working out from there. Because as that new information comes in, we're going to have that system for ourselves to go back to our core, to go back to that foundation and make those calls. And so kind of the last message that we want to, and again, I think in all ways, our recordings are going to go to this theme of this is hard, and we have to embrace the hard. There is going to be awkward. We're going to be facing judgment. We're going to be facing our own tendency to judge. It's a really tough thing. We want to encourage people to both step away from that judgment for their own freedom and their own peace of mind, while still being able to maintain those boundaries, because that's how we're going to stay sane through all of this. Okay. We are truly all in this together. And we wish, as much as we wish, we can't kind of outsource the struggle of this. But we really do need to know that the more we embrace that is the more we can move on and come to peace with ourselves and bring that peace to our day-to-day lives, which frankly, I'll take right now. I'll take that in any degree that we can. So Amanda, you have anything else to add before we sign off today?
No, I just want to add that, we're all out there doing the best that we can. We're making the decisions with the information that we have, and just encourage people to keep doing that. Encourage each other in those decision-making processes as well, because it's not easy.
Yeah. And once again, if you have thoughts, you have questions, you have comments, please share them with us. And we are here to do anything we can to make any of this easier and better. So until next time, bye.
Bye.